Welcome in the fifth section of our course. In this section, we will see techniques to make your test with Spring Boot more maintainable. So, firstly, we'll be looking at the one anti-pattern when creating integration tests. So we'll be avoiding Spring test anti-pattern that is called live tests. Then we'll be replacing those live tests with fully fledged integration tests. So integration tests will be starting when our application is not needed to be started. Application will be started automatically together with integration tests. Then we'll be speeding up our tests of MVC by using mock MVC. So we will see how we can test model view controller in Spring using mock MVC. Fourth video will be about making our testing security simple with mocking security context. So we'll try to mock MVC together with security. Finally, we'll be choosing only needed beans to make your test more maintainable and faster. And this is a first video in which we will see how to avoid Spring test anti-pattern, live tests. So we'll do a first try of integration test for payment endpoint. Then we will be starting our Spring application by hand, so it means that there will be a manual step involved. Finally, we'll be using REST template to send HTTP request to live application. So let's go to our test. So here is our live test. So at the beginning we need to specify that it should be run with Spring Runner. It means that the context of our application will be started automatically. We are using Spring Boot test together with that. It will start all beans and inject everything. And finally, we are specifying that we should use integration profile. So if you remember from the previous sections, if you will have application integration.yaml file, then those settings will be loaded here. Otherwise, it will fall back to the application.yaml as a default. So once we have that, we'll have a test. So at the beginning, we are creating REST template, we are creating payment DTO, adding HTTP headers, content type to application JSON, and then creating an entity. Then there is a most important call in the context of our test. So we are posting for entity, and we are specifying here that we want to post to HTTP localhost 8080, then reactive payment. But that 8080 is a bit of a problem. Why is that? Because this is the default port on which our payment application is starting. So even though Spring Boot's test annotation will start Spring test, the port will be random. And here we are specifying that we are expecting 8080. So it means that the payment application needs to be run on the 8080 when the integration test is started. And this is not an ideal solution. Let's go further in this test. So response should be equal to 200 and body should be not null. Then we are doing get for the same entity, and still again we are passing 8080 of localhost here. So we'll execute a get endpoint against running payment application. Finally, we are asserting that result will be 200 and response size will be greater than 0. So it means that we will return a body that we inserted using post. So let's start this test by hand. So we are starting our integration test that should create and retrieve payment. Application context is starting. And we can see that our test failed. And let's take a look at the logs. So we can see that we have IO error, post request for HTTP localhost, connection is refused. So it means that there is no currently running application on the 8080. To make it pass, we need to start a payment application by hand. So there is a manual step involved. That is not a good solution. We need to wait a moment until the application will start. Then we need to start our test. So whole application context will start again. Every bean will be injected only to make that REST template call. So that's not an ideal situation because we are not leveraging any bean here. So we would also be able to skip all Spring initialization, but still the manual step will be involved. So we can see that test passed because our payment application is running on 8080. In the next video, we'll try to improve that solution.